what do you think of when you picture a desert? Is it something like this? Maybe something like this. Now what about this? We all know the importance of eating healthy food, and most of us have the privilege of having access to the kinds of foods that fuel our bodies, like fresh fruits and vegetables. But what if you didn't have this choice? What if this was your only option? My name is Bella Reed, and as a nutrition major, this is a scenario that really interests me. And as it turns out, this scenario is a reality that happens all too often. These areas are called food deserts, and according to research conducted by the USDA, between 2010 and 2015, over 17.3 million people in the USDA live in areas that can be classified as food deserts. Today I'm going to be talking to you about what a food desert is, who's affected by them, and how it affects global health. We'll start off by looking at what a food desert looks like and a food oasis like America, and also eat up some data from other countries. Then we'll boil down exactly who's affected, and finally peel back the layers and look at the connection between food deserts and obesity, and how a food desert diet affects health. Let's start by digesting the definition of a food desert. According to a report to Congress by the USDA, a food desert is an area with a high proportion of low-income residents who are constrained in their access to affordable, nutritious food, usually because of a lack of access to transportation and extra distance between a grocery store. So they're physically and economically constrained in their access to affordable, nutritious food. Now, oftentimes while people who live in food deserts are constrained in their access to grocery stores and farmers markets, fast food restaurants and convenience stores are readily available, and sometimes it's their only option. And because these people are low income, it can be difficult for them to pay inflated convenience prices. If they go to a gas station and try to buy a banana, it might be cheaper to buy a candy bar. It also is more convenient to go across the street to a fast food restaurant and buy a burger for dinner than it is to take 2 buses to the nearest grocery store and lug their week's worth of groceries home over public transportation. And this is an international issue. According to a study entitled Food Deserts or Swamps in the journal Science Direct, published in 2015, produce and vegetables in Mexico are 25% more expensive in low-income areas than middle or high-income areas. According to Jennifer Wehunt, a senior editor of the Chicago magazine, she interviewed a researcher, Dr. Gallagher, who found that over 600,000 residents in Chicago live in a food desert. That's enough to fill Neyland Stadium 6 times. Out of these 600,000 people, 64,000 don't own a vehicle. 109,000 are single mothers. And it also disproportionately affects people of color. Now, you may be asking, is eating fast food really that bad? At least they have access to something. They aren't starving. But let's look at just what a food desert diet can do. The same article found that school children in Mexico struggle to navigate their food environment. One student was quoted saying, I know I should come home directly after school because if I don't, there'll be too many temptations to eat chatarra. Another study funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation found that obesity is linked to more deaths worldwide than malnutrition or being underweight. And people that live in food deserts are more likely to die of these weight-related diseases, such as heart disease or diabetes. It's common knowledge that in order to stay healthy and at a healthy weight, that you have to eat a healthy diet. But how can you make these healthy choices if you simply don't have access to them? Now, we may be in Tennessee, but the desert is a lot closer than you may think. UT is right in the center of this, and all the areas in yellow are areas where more than 100 people are of low income, constrained in their access to a supermarket, and do not own a vehicle. UT is right in the center of this. As you may know, the Walmart in University Commons is closing next month. Who is that going to affect? I'm just asking you to not be blinded by the mirage of fast food restaurants and be aware of the reality that is the food desert. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have a question. What do you think can be done to combat food deserts?
This really comes down to issues, social and economic issues, but community involvement is a really big help for these kinds of issues, such as community gardens are really great initiatives. A paradox that I actually found is food stamps are actually linked to higher rates of obesity because of the limits on the amount that they can buy. People feel even more constrained. So it has a lot to do with people's perceptions. So really going into these neighborhoods and like having community gardens and things like that that can specifically change people's perception of their food environment has shown to have the most effect.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.